and welcome to Crafts and Crime. I'm Amy.
I'm Elaine.
And as always, we have a craft and a crime.
Mm.
I was waiting for something.
I was like,
So, we don't really have what week is this? Oh, it's the week after it's a Tuesday after our 1 year. So this is like 1 year, 1 week. 1 year, 1 week. And so we're into, I guess we could call this season 2.
Right?
If we go yearly.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so we just keep going with episodes. I don't mess with seasons.
Well,
we never go away.
We'll end up
seasons go away.
Exactly.
You know, they have like breaks.
God, it's insane. Like
breaks.
whether you like him or not, that's not the point. We don't have to get into it. But like freaking Joe Rogan, and he's like 3,900, and you're like, what?
Yeah. Like we don't do seasons.
I like to talk, but oh my God, the thought. And his are like 2 and 3 hours long.
I know, and I think because that's his job, I could talk you get us together, we talk a lot. Yeah. You get me with somebody else, and we'll talk a lot.
It's just crazy because, like, I get it. You know, he's interviewing them. He's just letting them talk and stuff. So it is a different dynamic. But, like, some days when we record back to back, I'm just like... Yeah. And ever since California Adventures on the Incredicoaster, like my voice still isn't right.
100%.
Like, no, and it sucks. And I'm like, I'm not raising my voice as much as possible, but like even my singing is not as good. And I'm just like,
you know what?
Hurts.
The amount of talking that I've done just between talking to my mom, talking to you, talking to Jack, talking to Troy, I did so much talking over the past few days that like my vocal cords hurt.
Yeah, you're like, I'm over it now.
And then because I can't sit still when I talk half the time, especially like if I'm on the phone or FaceTime. And that's what's nice is like sometimes I'll sit and, have my coffee and talk to my mom. But a lot of times I'm walking around the house. I'm like doing the laundry. I'm getting the eggs from the chicken coop and all that. But I have that app, which if anyone has an Apple phone, you can get this app called Fantasy Hike. Oh, and it's like basically like Lord of the Rings. And and so you're hiking to Mount Fire, and hiking, you're walking. And so
because that's all they fucking do in the movie.
Exactly. It's a lot of walking. So I have let's see.
What is it called?
It's called Fantasy Hike. I don't think Android has it. I think they're trying to come out with it. You could look and see.
I'll check right now.
I know iPhone has it. And so I have it on my phone, and I wear my Apple Watch from the moment I get up out of bed, and then I put it on my nightstand to charge when I go to bed.
I don't have it.
Yeah. So so I have my Apple Watch connected obviously to my phone, and so it's constantly tracking my steps. And on Wednesday, just talking on the phone, walking around. Well, Wednesday I did a lot of talking. I talked to a few people. I felt like I talked all day long Wednesday. I walked 6.61 miles.
Pacing is something else, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Now, yesterday I did have to do a lot of work, to prep for today. And so I didn't walk as much, but I walked 3.12 miles yesterday.
Wow. See, I have like a boo-boo off-brand watch, like a smart fit watch or whatever they're called. And,
fitness watch.
I think mine is called the Hero Band. Yeah, Hero Band. And I like it because of the simple fact of being able to do heart rate, blood pressure, and the oximeter. Because I'm so anemic, I check when I'm like, I can't breathe. But the problem with it, though, is it's not great about tracking. So just a little wiggle, and it's like, I walked a whole bunch. I'm like, you're lying.
Yeah, mine, and I've learned, because I don't want to I want accurate reading, is if I'm doing a project, like if I'm crocheting or knitting,
you'll take it off,
and I need to no because I don't use my left, because I wear my watch on my left hand. I don't use my left as much when I crochet. I tend to use my right wrist more to crochet, but it's when I'm winding up the yarn because I use both, and my watch will always it's better now. I've learned how to wind it up,
you're like,
and it'll say like, it looks like you're on the elliptical, and I'm like, nope. I'm not. I'm just winding up a ball of yarn.
Because it's like the action of
it's
the
like
arm.
this, and it's like in a circle, and so I'm
That's
like,
cool,
no.
though. That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, but it takes a little bit, and then I'm like, no, I'm not exercising. I guess I'm doing like arm exercises, winding up a ball of yarn, but yeah. So it's the same. It'll like link up with Fitbit or whatever, but it's kind of cool, and I paid for it. It was like $4 for the year or something simple to do your tracking, unlimited tracking. And so you can link up with friends and stuff. It's really cool. But then you have these fictional characters and it'll tell you where they are. So you have Mr. Underhill. He's really fast. Then you have John Snowflake and Alice Wonderfoot, and they are normal speed. And then you have Harryfoot Potter, who is slow.
Oh.
And I am right in the middle of those four. Mm-hmm. I am behind John Snowflake by 32.8 miles, and I'm behind Mr. Underhill by 272 miles.
Yeah.
But I'm ahead of Alice Wonderfoot by like over almost 60 miles. So it's kind of cool because it's like, oh, cool. And then you can get your friends in and then see where they are. And then it'll help track your daily average. I walk about, my daily average is 3.75 miles a day.
Sorry, I was literally looking for like something similar to Fantasy Hike.
Uh-huh.
And I opened up the Reddit thread of the dude that made it.
Oh! That's cool.
Yeah, he was like, I made it. And they were like, is it free? And I guess he said it was, but there's like other stuff if you want to walk farther than that or something.
Yeah.
Like when you hit Mordor, you got to go somewhere else?
No, it's
back to the fucking shit.
So it'll track your daily mileage up until a certain amount of miles. So basically if you walk past like 2 miles a day, it's done. You're only going to progress 2 miles a day. So that's why I was like, oh, I'll just pay for the, the whatever. So I pay, I'm going to pull up the prescriptions right now. It says I don't have any, but I know I do. Yeah, I have unlimited distance purchase. And like I said, I think it wasn't that expensive. But it's really cool. It's like motivation. And so, yeah, so it'll track your daily average. Mine is 3.75 miles. And then my best day was in January and I walked 7.74 miles. I'm like, yeah, my watch could do all that, but it's kind of cool when you see in the last 7 days, I've walked 29 miles. Mm-hmm. I'm like, when you don't really think about it and you're like, that's kind of far, just walking between like my house and your house, my backyard, around the house, like just doing housework. And that's a lot. So yeah, why did I even bring that up? It was something about, talking and walking. That's what it was. Yeah, I did a lot of talking. And so not only does my do my vocal cords hurt, but my legs also hurt. I got up after drinking my coffee. I was like sitting down for like all of 10 minutes and I got up and I'm like, man, my muscles are a little sore. Yeah, because I walked like 6 miles a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. So getting my steps in. But
the developers claim that it's in progress for the Android.
Yeah, I would hope so. I get it. It's like a whole different let me see. So I'm like, oh, we're not on Mommy's After Hours anymore. We're actually recording. Let me look at my app store. So if I look up Fantasy Hike, Fantasy Hike on Apple Store. Oh, no, don't open. I want to go to developer info. There we go. So right now, from what I can see is in-app purchases. You have, so what I did was I paid for unlimited distance and it's $4. It's $3.99. That's all. I was like, I'll pay $4. And
total? Like that's it. Not
that's
like
it.
Every
that's
month?
it.
Oh,
it's unlimited distance. It doesn't say 1 month, 1 year. It just unlocks the unlimited distance. Now, I don't know what all of these other purchases are. But there's premium 1 month, premium 1 year, premium family for a year or a month, premium hero. I don't know what any of that is. Oh, okay. But like the most expensive is $90, and I'm like, who hero? I'm like, just tell me how far I walked. I'm good with that. I don't know if it's like if you have a lot of friends and then there's challenge. I don't know if it unlocks other stuff, but for $4, I'm like, it's really cool, and I like that you can like. I would totally start a walk over if like 2 of my friends joined in. I'd be like, okay, let's race to Mount Fire and see who gets there first.
Here's the funny part. I see the things for this one, the Conqueror virtual challenges, and I always wondered what it was. They're like, when you get a medal when you finish. Like, you
yes, I have seen that, a physical medal,
because you have to pay like 40 fucking bucks to join the challenge. It's like when you join a marathon, like you have to pay a price, and then when you finish it,
then you get a little medal. I know. I almost did one of those.
Well, that's kind of cool.
And then I was like,
there's a hike to Mordor on this shit.
So
that guy like.
Yeah, I would take the app any day because the app is like real time. I know. Hopefully they do come out with it and then we can challenge each other because that would be so cool. I'd start my hike over. Oh, and another thing is it's like it's a I should have mentioned this when I had the app open. Let me see. So it's really far. I have 1,384 miles to go. So it'll kind of take your daily average and stuff, and it'll tell you when your estimated arrival is. I started this on December 29th, 2023. With my average, I won't get there until January 21st, 2025. So next January.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's it really just over a year.
It took them like 8 months.
Yeah. Walking constantly. And I'm like, nope, I sit and drink my coffee. I don't walk and drink my coffee.
Crystal and I did this one, Zombies Run. Have you ever heard of it?
Sounds very familiar.
Okay, so it was up the hill, so there was not traffic in the area. We could not do it here. That's the part that sucks. Crystal and I literally played this in the road. You remember our street.
Yes,
it was like not that busy. Anyone who came down there was just living there. So you set it up and you're walking around, and instead of like Pokemon Go where there's like Pokemon, there's fucking zombies on the screen chasing you.
This.
You have to run away from them, and then when you escape like X amount, you get stuff, and then you're like building your ultimate survival like apocalypse. I was like, that's cool, but it was stressful. Yeah. And then the kids in the neighborhood were making fun of us because we're like, we're screaming, and you're like zigzagging, and you look nuts. You just look crazy.
Yeah, look at them now. They're all like my son with a VR headset and screaming like a maniac, and you're like, what are you even doing? Man,
that's so funny.
Anyways, okay, do you have your craft? I'm like, we should try it a long time. We always do.
That's okay, though. My craft is really short. Well, again, we're always like, it's so short.
So short.
Then,
20 minutes later.
Exactly. So, my craft is on potpourri.
Oh, okay.
Because the thing is, like, I don't mean to do it, but I'm like, it's just thematic. I'm like, it all goes. I'm like, we talk about flower pressing and then drying, and I'm like, this can all be done.
Yeah, dry some stuff. And
so, you know, like every single thing we mentioned, we've always liked things to smell nice and look pretty. So throughout all of ancient history, technically potpourri was not the thing as we know it or how it was invented, but we've always put flowers on shrouds and herbs and stuff to hide the smell of bodies, but also like funerary things in Egyptian times. You know, it's
as kids, any potpourri that was in the bathroom, we would call poopery.
Potpourri, exactly.
Yeah, because it just smelled like flowery poop.
Yep, exactly. My mom had a bag of potpourri that was in like you couldn't open it. Yeah. And I was like, but I want to
like in an organza bag.
It's like a pretty, no, it was like the cello bag that it came with the label, but it was like
we
so
had
pretty.
One that was in like
I think she just wanted it to say pretty, like in the basket, like in the thing, because probably I mean, she's so sensitive to smells too. And I think it's mostly synthetic. So
yeah, my mom had a really pretty jar. Sorry. It was if I remember correctly, I could be wrong. It was like a copper jar, and it had a silver lid on top with the holes, like the pretty, and you put the potpourri in there, and then
so it was hidden, but the smell
it was pretty, but so that's what I remember
with dead leaves in it.
Pretty much.
So so we have always liked things to smell nice. It that's no different. But the potpourri that we know, like the true quote unquote potpourri, took off. It started in the 12th century because the reality is that, Egyptian, Greeks, and Romans bathed. They liked to smell nice and they liked to be clean. But that changed, and the reality was 12th century stunk like ass. Everybody smelled. Castles smelled. Bodies smelled, especially if you were poor. And so it was made specifically to freshen up everything.
Okay.
And the word potpourri is French, and it translates exactly to putrid pot.
Oh.
Here we go. But so at the end of the day, all of the leftover cooking herbs, spices, any fruit peels and rinds, which was really funny because I was like, could you use citrus peels? I thought about it. And I went back and I looked and I was like, citrus trees have been around for like 8 million years, because I was like, did they even exist then? So they would put all that in a pot, like a big cauldron, double boil and trouble, and then they would add spirits on top, so, an alcohol on top of it, and then they would put the lid on and left it to rot. Because,
this sounds really gross because I just had to
I know
tell
what
Troy
rotten oranges smell like. It's fucking gross.
We have a Simple Human double trash can that has the recycling on one side and the trash on the other. And then Simple Human came out with a compost bin, and it hangs off the side of that trash can. So it's a little stainless steel, like, or, you know,
were you making potpourri?
And it's a compost bin, and it was popped open about like not even a couple inches, and it smelled rancid because all I could smell was the rotten peels of the oranges.
I know, right? And that's what the thing I didn't understand.
I knew the smell was the orange peels. They smell so nasty.
Yeah. And I think a little bit of what happened was that it would rot, but they're meaning more like macerate. It wouldn't get moldy. So I think it had like the spirits.
Ours isn't even moldy. It's like 5-day-old just compost.
It's like the spirits, I think, added like a sterilizing kind of a thing. But yeah, I can't imagine it smelled amazing, but compared to asshole. So
yeah, I mean, say so.
Yeah. So
sure, when you say it like that.
So they would leave it like this delicious gross, and they would just kind of open the lid, waft the smell about, close the lid.
So it's like a simmer pot,
exactly.
Just like I'll take my cinnamon and
well, they use that too.
I guess there is citrus in there, but
and then as time went by, and this wasn't like a oh my god, what the peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot, 5 days old. Because that was them just leaving the pot boiling, and nobody would get sick because you just kept adding shit to the pot.
Yeah.
And it would just kept going. I don't think it was this kind of situation. So I don't think it really would fester. I think they just mean like a couple days, throw it out. There's shit every day coming from.
True. Okay, so it's like like I said, like a simmer pot that you just use until it's like, okay, this is smelling odd, and let's dump it and start over.
Yeah. So when the ingredients would break down, they would release a fragrance, and it's really funny because they would scoop some of it out and they would put them into separate vessels, like you said your mom had, that's very common. Or they would like hide it inside of like vases with foliage and flowers. But like, it's really funny because I even wrote in my notes, like, I cannot imagine this smells great. But it really didn't occur to me that like
just like stashing stuff around the house.
They're gonna replace it.
It's like you forget about it in that flower vase or something. And you're like, when's the smell?
Right, compared to the commode smell. I know. But they really are very different.
Like, which
smells,
pot did we put this in?
So as time progressed and came on, like nothing changed. A lot of the times, like it just stayed the same. And and so time progressed, and something called a pomander was made. And it's funny because a pomander is like really popular in weddings. They're a ball, and it's a styrofoam ball, and they put fresh flowers or fake flowers and you hang it. Well, I don't really know why that is named that, because it means a ball of amber. And I really don't understand it either. And later on, just a little side note, like later on in like the Victorian times, they'd make these really beautiful pomanders that were like a little globe, and it would crack open like an orange, and each individual orange slice was a different scented perfume. So they changed then. Like, it was just like an all-encompassing term. But it started in like the 13th century, 14th, like that. So it was a little carved wooden vessel. Started out as wood, but later progressed to, ceramics and beautiful things. But it was a little wooden vessel with a lid that would twist on. So they like carved the threads in. And it was attached with some kind of, like the size of the palm of your hand, little. And it was attached with, a ribbon or a thread or whatever. And it was tied underneath her dress to hide her stank ass. Or sachets, they would tuck them in here places. But the same thing, like the rotten stuff, but like fresh herbs and flowers and things. They would put fresh stuff in.
So when you air out your skirt, it's at least not like your stank ass. And it's like,
exactly. Yeah. So I was like, that's good.
Roses.
Cool. Yeah. Potpourri. So, and then hashtag not sponsors, don't sue us. We're just using the name.
Oh, I forgot that there's
literally a whole
I know. But as we grew up, that's why it was so funny when the company came out. I'm like, oh, we couldn't have been the only kids growing up calling it
Potpourri.
that.
Exactly. So like, it still smells like shit and
flowers.
It's
just flowers on top of it.
All right. So by the 17th century, France was totally in love with potpourri, and they were really expanding upon it. Like, we don't want rotten shit everywhere.
Yeah.
So they, at the end, obviously France and their lavender and stuff. So at the end of their growing season, if you had a lot of money, you would get the most beautiful and fragrant flowers at the end, and they would layer them, like we were just talking about. Mm-hmm. You would layer them with layers of salt to help the drying process. But it would rot a little bit. But the flowers would be dried, mixed with the herbs, and that little bit of the putrefaction probably released essential oils a little bit, I'm thinking. Okay. It couldn't have been terrible because they knew that it was going to rot a little bit. Then the addition of the herbs and spices were put together. And a lot of this is what we tend to think about. We think of like a whole nutmeg, the little spiral of cinnamon, the anise pods.
Yes.
And so they did add these together too. By the 18th century, my Victorians, they were also all about the flowers, and their contribution to the putrid pot was orris root powder for a preservative. And it acted as the preservative, and then they would start adding extra essential oils onto the flowers, onto the barks, onto the cinnamon sticks, so that you wouldn't always have to throw out those materials. You could just refreshen them up when they were already dried.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, in current times, potpourri is bark chips and like those sola wood flowers and the same things. Pine cones, that's it. Everybody knows the pine cone cinnamon scented at Christmas,
from
right?
Joann's, you walk in, it's like the bag of the scented pine cones.
Exactly. So I'm not going to do it here because it's super simple, but I have like 3 vintage Victorian recipes for potpourri that we'll do. And like it does have the orris root powder, and it has like some essential oils and all these things, but it's like an OG recipe. It won't rot. It's not that kind. Yeah. But so we'll make it. We will do it. But that was it. I always found it really interesting because anybody can do it. You get some pine cones, some acorn caps, like anything that's going to absorb it, but not like rot out. I mean, you don't want that. We're not trying to hide castle stench. So
no, I have like simmer pot recipes, but that's basic. Like, I mean, I use what I have, and so I have a lot of whole cloves. I have whole allspice, cinnamon sticks. And then we have, the lemon tree outside. So I would just do like lemon, whatever I would have.
The dehydrated lemon slices you put in. I mean, like.
And then I have like fresh herbs. So I would go outside and cut some rosemary. And that would be like my little simmer pot. And like done. Yep. I would tried it
before, but like, I don't know what I did wrong. And it just came out like, this doesn't smell good. So I think I burnt. Maybe I made it too hot.
Oh, yeah. You're supposed to. It's a simmer pot. So you're supposed to like.
I mean, I don't think
not
I
even bring it to a boil.
But
I have the smallest burner on my stove. It's like itty bitty, and so I just put it on the lowest setting.
It's funny. Mine is actually called like the AccuSimmer burner because it accurately simmers. Like it really does. It's the only one.
Well, mine's that little itty bit. It's like this big.
Yeah,
it's like the tiny one in the back.
Oh my god, how funny!
That's what I cooked my pinto beans for 2 days on that.
Nice.
I literally simmered my pinto beans on super low. They turned out really good, but yeah. So wow, that was cool. I mean, I could make some potpourri. I should probably hang some potpourri by my compost little bin. And this thing is like tiny. And man, does it like when it's nasty. It's just like literally the only thing we do is like put veggie scraps in there, like the end of the lettuce or the tomato. And then like the apple core, orange peels, and then like coffee grinds. That's it. There's like nothing nasty in there. It's just like, but it's starting to break down. And it has been really warm. So, but I'm like, I'm just picturing all of that like simmering. I'm like, what if it's a hot day? And then like you forget about the one in the flower pot. And then you're like, well, this smells different.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
Oh, that was good. So.
It's a bummer.
I guess I gotta bring it down. Okay. So. I think this is going to be kind of, well, it's detailed. Okay, so I will preface this with saying this is another one of the cases that I like to cover that has a lot of surveillance footage. So it's another one from the episode See No Evil. Okay. It's such a good show because I love those where we are in the age of, in our lifetime, these crimes are being solved with stuff like video evidence of just people going about their day to day. It could be something so simple. But anyway, so This is the case of Jasmine Fiore.
Okay.
So this actually takes place in California, in Buena Park. August 15th, 2009, a call comes in to the Buena Park Police Department, and it's a man that says he manages like the sober living facility, and says that the man who like gets the cans cans, I think he's meaning like trash man, came to him and said that like, hey, you should go out back. It looks like there's a body back there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How many times do they have that happen? Like
I don't know, but he was like, okay. So he's telling the officer that, that he's calling in, and he's saying that he went to the back and he saw a suitcase and like kind of took his finger and popped it open. And he said that it looks like a body of a child inside of a suitcase. Oh, no. So a body there's a body. Mm-hmm. So immediately detectives arrive at the scene, and Detective Pelton was one of those detectives. He was kind of the lead on the case. He's the one that was like given the most interviews and stuff. So he looked into it was a large dumpster, and he saw the suitcase. It was kind of like partially inside of a bag. I think it was just the way it was thrown in there. And there was a ton of blood on it and around it. And when he looked inside of it, he could tell that it was not actually the body of a child. The body was completely naked in a fetal position on its left side. And he could tell that the body was a white or possibly Hispanic female in her mid to late 20s. And her dark hair looked to be damp. Like I said, there was blood all over. So she has dark hair. And so the body hadn't gone through any like advanced decomposition. And so this let them know that like, okay, this hasn't been there that long. This is pretty fresh. We need to like get on it right away. So looking at the body, they could tell there were signs of a struggle. And her face was so swollen, you could tell that she was just beaten in her face. Mm-hmm. And Detective Pelton then noticed that there is something wrong with her fingernails. He's like, man, her fingernails look weird. Mm-hmm. And then he looked a little closer and realized that they were not her fingernails. They were her finger bones. Yeah.
They cut off her fucking fingertips.
Every single one of her fingertips were cut off. So then they know,
oh my God.
Wait, if someone went to the lengths to cut her fingerprints off, it was like, I bet she doesn't have any teeth.
Oh my God.
And she did not. Her teeth had all been pulled.
Did they take her toe prints? I mean, like,
that was not mentioned. And that is very hard to get identity. You're not going to get identity off someone's toe prints, because when you are in a system, DMV, all of that, you get fingerprints.
Take your big toe.
They're not like, take off your socks, let's get your toes.
They should.
So maybe. If it's like, your toe prints can be very important in a crime where, say, you're walking around barefoot, there's feet prints.
Like I stepped in blood.
With blood.
Yeah.
And you can identify, oh, this matches their toe print. It was this person that walked over here. So that's very different. So as far as forms of identification, it's teeth and fingerprints. Yeah. That's how you're going to identify anybody in a system. Ugh. So, yeah. So she had no fingertips and no teeth.
Ew.
Yeah. So because this happened in Southern California, detectives are thinking, okay, somebody took great lengths to hide her identity.
I'm so sorry. What year is this again?
2009.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is in Buena Park. Is her body's found. And so they're like, okay, so that's Southern California. We're pretty close to Mexico and Southern California. And you would think, because Troy was asking about that, I'm like, it's not, we could get there like in no time.
Yeah.
Really? Like in no time. We could get there tonight if we left right now. And so anyway, so pretty close to Mexico. So they're thinking maybe cartel, drug related, or even, serial killer. What? Yeah. It could be something as crazy as that. We always have them
down here.
Yeah. So, of course, they need to start to trace steps back to where the crime occurred, because it's obviously not in the dumpster. That's just where her body was dumped. And so they're like, we need to figure out where the suitcase was before it ended up here.
Yeah.
So, obviously, first step, find out who she is. So they put out a search in their database to look if there's a missing female, brunette in her late 20s to 30s. No missing persons that match her description at that time as they searched came back. So then they look at her body, and at this point, she's been transported to, the coroner's office. So the coroner, takes a look and determines that the cause of death was manual strangulation. Now, here I'm going to clarify, manual strangulation means that the person used their hands to strangle, not an object. That would be...
mechanical,
that
right?
would be like if you see ligature marks, it's the use of like a rope, a wire, a tie, whatever, a telephone cord. This is manual strangulation, means that the killer used their hands to strangle. So the coroner also found that the fingertip removal was done after her death. So she's dead, and then they're like, we need to cover her up, who she is. Let's take her fingertips off. And then another interesting find that the coroner discovered during the autopsy was that she had breast implants.
Oh, the serial number.
This is great. Yeah. Breast implants have serial numbers on them. So you just have to search up who received these breast implants. There, you get a name. It worked.
Good.
And they finally find out who their victim is. It's Jasmine Fiore.
Okay.
So they pull her up her information, and they
think she had an augmentation.
I know.
Moly. Look, how long it would have taken.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah. So didn't even think like, oh yeah, she's got fake boobs, and idiot whoever it was, not thinking.
I saw that on a TV episode.
Oh really?
Like they did that where they were like trying to figure out who the person was, and it was
it happens unfortunately a lot. Well, fortunately a lot. Yeah. So they're able to see who she is, and so they pull up her information and see she's 28 years old, lives in Los Angeles in the Fairfax district. So they, continue to look. Does she have any warrants, restraining orders, and all of that? And while they're, doing a deep dive, now they know who she is, because remember, it's like they search. Okay, we can't find anybody who's matching her description that's missing. Let's keep going. Let's look at autopsy. Yeah. Now we found who she is. And then because now they have their name, all of a sudden a missing persons report pops up. Fresh report just filed. Yeah. The report was filed the evening of the day that her body was found. And the report was filed by her husband, Ryan Jenkins. And when he filed the report, he called and told the deputy that that Jasmine had left to go get her nails done and then run some errands, but that he hadn't heard from her after that. So Detective Pelton decides to, call over the officer who spoke to Ryan after this. And she said, like, she called him the next morning or something and said that she was talking to him, and he said that he was actually on his way to Canada.
Oh. Wow. From Southern California.
Yes.
I'm fucking taking off.
So
okay.
This is, now keep in mind, he filed a missing persons report on his wife. Yeah. That on, that night, the very next morning, he's on his way to Canada.
Right? What sense does that make?
So he says that he has a visa issue. He like, it has to be taken care of. I have to go to Canada and figure this out. And she's like, aren't you concerned your wife is missing? And he says like he was, but that she does this all the time. And I'm like, okay, but you filed a missing persons report. Yeah. And he was like, but like, I really do need to take care of this visa issue.
I mean, you can get in a lot of trouble and deported.
Yes. So it's like, okay, sure. So then detectives were like, okay, we need to look at their background together. Yeah. Like, figure out who are these people. So Jasmine was a model and Ryan was a reality star.
Oh,
so
okay.
Not too far for living in LA. And it's funny because I was just talking to my mom about this because a friend, I told you this yesterday, I think I did, a friend from high school. Yeah. He lives in New York and he does modeling stuff out there. And he was in last week's episode as of recording. So the premiere, when the season came back, he was in American Horror Story, and he was the driver for like Kim Kardashian and Emma Roberts' characters. So he was just the driver because he's like really good looking. He's a model. So I was talking to my mom. I'm like, of course in LA you have like actors and models, but then in New York you have a lot of like models and some actors, So it's not too far off that you have a model and an actor living in LA. So anyways, so Brian Jenkins had moved to Las Vegas, Nevada from Canada. So he's a Canada native. While in Las Vegas, he met a casting agent remember this is back in like 2000s, early 2000s. He had met a casting agent for a VH1 reality show called Megan Wants a Millionaire. Never watched it, but that was a show.
I know the name, yeah. But
this is when VH1 and MTV all of a sudden was all reality TV and
Rock
it went
of
downhill.
Love and that Flavor Flav.
Yes,
Flavor of
Tequila.
Oh, that hot mess.
I
Holy
know.
moly.
So yeah, so it was like at that time. This is 2009. So he was in that show and he stayed in Vegas for a while, and that's where he meets Jasmine. And they get married in Vegas 2 days after meeting.
Oh.
Yeah, fast.
Okay.
Meet. Hi, I like you. Let's get married 2 days later. So, of course, the husband is the first suspect. So they try calling him. And even though, the LAPD officer talked to Ryan on the phone when he was on his way to Canada, said he was on his way to Canada. Now he's not answering his phone. So they can't get a hold of him. So then they're like, okay, we need to get some more information on their relationship and who they were. So they start talking to some of Jasmine's friends. And to kind of help also get a better timeline of what happened leading up to her death. And one of her friends tells detectives that Ryan took Jasmine to a fancy hotel in San Diego 2 days before her body was discovered. The reason for this trip was so that Ryan could participate in a celebrity poker game. This was like a charity poker game thing when they bring in reality stars and stuff and they play poker and raise money. So the hotel that they stayed at was oh my gosh, I had this name. La Berge. Nope, that's not right. La Berge. Okay, please. You're better with those fancy.
La Berge.
Yeah, La Berge. Yes, it is. It's La Berge. I knew I was missing that. Sorry. I missed a D.
I was working on my French for the last episode.
I know, that's why I was like, wait, you're good for this. La Berge Del Mar, which is in Del Mar, California. Now, I looked up this hotel because Ryan has a lot of money. Clearly, she does too. She does modeling and stuff. And this is a nice hotel. And of course, they're going out for a celebrity. Or the poker thing was not at that hotel. That is just the hotel they stayed at. So, it's not far from us. We could totally go, but we can't because I'm going to tell you why.
Because it's $17,000.
Yes. So I know this happened in August 2009.
Okay.
But I decided to see what the room rates are for dates close to when the crime occurred. Now, keep in mind, this is in August. So
that's weird.
It's peak summer still.
Tourism for Southern California, summer vacation.
Yeah, peak summer rate in Southern California by the beach. It's in Del Mar.
Yeah, where it's already a rich people beach. Most of the beaches around here are, but if you go to Long Beach, you're like, okay, come on now.
Yeah, Del Mar is expensive. Yeah, and this is known as a really nice upscale hotel. So so I tried to get it right around the dates. So if I were to get a hotel room at this hotel that they stayed at now, I just put in for 2 adults from August 9th to the 11th. The cheapest hotel room is currently $709 a night.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And the most expensive room is $3,709 a night.
That's the casino prices.
Yes, I know. And that's
pathetic.
Crazy.
Are you kidding me?
But this is that's expensive.
Yeah.
And so it's not like they were just staying at some Motel 6. It was a nice upscale hotel. So
and I doubt that they were staying in the $700 room.
No, they were probably in the mid-range, if anything, or maybe higher up because, he's a reality star or whatever. So that just kind of gives you an idea of it was a nice hotel.
Yeah.
And they had some money. So, detectives now have this information on the hotel that they stayed at and the dates that they were there. So they drive out to the hotel just to see if there's any evidence. Of course, first thing they ask for, surveillance. Let me see the surveillance. Thankfully, the hotel had multiple surveillance cameras all over the hotel. So they
gotta protect their rich people.
Yeah. Well, they
gotta protect their own asses.
Exactly. So immediately, they asked for the footage for August 13th, the day that they check in.
Okay.
And so they start and see that both Jasmine and Ryan arrive at the hotel at 3:28 p.m. in Jasmine's Mercedes.
Okay.
So she's got a Mercedes. They're at a nice hotel. I'm just saying they do have, means. They're well off.
It's not we splurged for this hotel and I'm rolling up in
this is just normal.
Corolla.
This is just normal. So this is nothing out of the reason I say that is this is nothing out of the ordinary. It's why are they at this fancy hotel? Oh, she's got a really fancy. It's just this is their lifestyle. This is nothing out of the ordinary. Okay. So something to mention is that Jasmine usually has blonde hair. Majority of her pictures and the ones that I am going to send to you to put on social media, she's blonde in all of them.
Okay.
She's typically blonde. In the surveillance photo, even her driver's license, she's blonde. Like, she's always blonde, but in the surveillance picture, she's brunette. Don't know why she went brunette. Maybe just like, I'm sick of, give my hair a rest. I don't know, but she's been blonde, but she has brunette hair. And remember,
the thing too is she could have been going on modeling gigs, and they're like, we have too many blondes. Like,
yeah,
we just
she
don't
could
need
be like,
any more
oh, I'll
blonde.
just go back to brunette.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she was a natural blonde. I think she was just like most women, especially at that time, is just you dye your hair blonde because blondes are a thing.
Yep.
So on the surveillance, she's seen with her brunette hair. And remember, when her body was found, she had her brunette hair.
Yeah. So it wasn't a wig. It was like her hair.
No, it was her hair. So the luggage cart is brought to them, and they start loading it up, to then be brought into their room. Then they're seen in the lobby of the hotel. It looks like they're kind of looking around for the front desk. And then they're seen on another surveillance camera walking past the front desk. And then like a little bit later, Ryan's seen walking up, checking them into the room, signs something, he gets the keys, and then he walks away. So then they're following again. Another camera angle shows the two of them like walk into an elevator and then like get out of it really fast. And you're like, what are they doing? And it looks like they just don't know where they're going.
They're probably like, oh, crap, I forgot.
I don't know where our room is. And then they're seen talking to like an employee.
Okay.
And that employee like takes them over where they can like, oh, your room's over here. Their room was actually on the ground floor, so they don't need to take an elevator anywhere. So they enter their room. They're seen entering in the room. And then detectives, they just need to sit there and watch and wait till they come out of the room, So they're waiting. About 2.5 hours later, they're seen exiting their hotel room, like dressed really nicely. Remember, they have this like poker event happening.
Yeah.
He's in a nice like black suit with a jacket. She's wearing like a nice dress. It's like, I don't know, like thigh length. Like she just looks nice. They're going out.
Cocktail dress.
Yeah, she looks cute.
The reality too is like the poker thing could have paid for that. Like they could have covered
they could have covered
like,
their outfits or whatever.
The hotel,
or the hotel too. Well, it was at a different hotel, so I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the that's why I said they're staying here, but the poker tournament's at a different hotel. So detectives then decide, like, they see this and they're like, okay, let's take a break. Let's go see the hotel room and like let's bring in our forensic team, see if we could find anything in this hotel room, what happened, because think about it, there's so much surveillance. They're like, let's just start. Okay, we know what room they're in. Let's go in there and take a look. The entire room is scoured to see if there's any evidence. And of course, cleaners have been in. This is all within the first week, but, days after her murder.
I'm sure the cleaning lady would have been like, the room had blood all over.
Yeah, there's blood. There's nothing. There's nothing there. And so they're like, okay, on to the next. So then they go to the hotel where the poker tournament took place. It's about like a 10-minute drive away from the hotel that they were staying at. So they talked to people who remembered Jasmine and Ryan pulling up in her Mercedes. They then learned that a limo had been arranged to take them to the Gaslight District, which is in San Diego. It's just nightlife clubs, so good for fun. And then they come back and they get into her Mercedes and leave. So all of this was told to them by people there because that hotel doesn't have surveillance. So it's just like word of mouth. Oh no, they showed up in her car. They did their thing, took the limo, did the nightlife thing, came back and then got in her car and left.
Okay.
The two of them together. So, okay. So they're still together.
And the thing is too, is like the police will take that at face value because hotels tend to pay attention to stuff like that because someone may ask, like, did you see my wife leave?
Especially if there's an event going on, they're going to pay attention to who's arriving for the event, who they were with.
Probably coming in and out.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have like time stamps of when the valet was picked up.
Exactly. So they might not have surveillance, but they have a good staff
that
they can tell you what happened. So while they're looking at the timeline of these events, detectives are still, there's multiple people working on the team. So this is when I'm getting excited, but I'm getting into it because it's really,
we're getting somewhere.
We're getting there. I'm just thinking of detectives of like, we're getting somewhere. So they're looking at the timeline of events and they're looking into background and stuff. And they find out that Jasmine had been married before to a man named Michael Cardosi. And this man had actually gotten out of prison recently and was on parole. Fortunately for detectives, Michael Cardosi had violated his parole days after Jasmine's death, so he was incarcerated. So, they go and talk to him and find out that before she had left for her trip with Ryan, she had done a little trip down to San Diego with her mom. And while she was on this trip, she left her mom at their hotel room and went to go meet up with her ex-husband, Michael. So Jasmine and Michael they were super young when they met and got married and stuff. And then they divorced when Michael went to prison. And Michael admits to meeting up with her then, but he's like, I didn't have anything to do with her murder. And detectives obviously follow up on his alibi, and easy, because he's wearing a GPS monitor. He's got an ankle monitor.
Okay.
So if you're on parole, a lot of times it's like you got to wear your GPS bracelet. And so because of that, he was eliminated. It was easy to see he was nowhere near where she was. Yeah, they met up that one time, but she was alive after that. She was seen after that. So his steps were able to be traced. So family and friends also backed up that, like, they didn't think he had anything to do with it. They got along. There was no history of violence. He's got some issues. He was in prison.
Yeah.
You know? So back to the surveillance footage it is. They are still trying to figure out, like, the timeline, what happened after they returned back to the hotel. So, all they know is, okay, they left the other hotel, got back probably really late. So they're looking at their hotel footage. And on surveillance, they see 2 hours after they had left the other hotel. Now at 4:38 a.m., Ryan is seen running through the hallway to their room, like kind of a quick brisk jog, like trying to get to their room real quick. So, of course, they're like, wait, where's Jasmine? Like, she's not with him. It's just him running to the room. And so then they're like continuing to watch it, and they're like, what is okay? And then they're, it's a slow process. You're just sitting there watching, waiting for something to happen, someone to come out of the room, because you're limited on surveillance. And he's in the room. So then you see another hotel guest, like, walk down the hallway. And then you see Ryan step out. This is at almost 5 a.m. And he is seen walking out of the hotel room. He's not wearing his, like, nice jacket anymore. At this point, he's just wearing a black undershirt. So it looked to me... watching it, it looked like he still had on his dress pants, his shoes, but he took off his jacket and probably his nice shirt, and he just had his black undershirt.
Okay.
So he walks out, and he is wearing, his undershirt and stuff, and he has an empty ice bucket, and then he has something in his hand, and he walks directly from his room across over to a cabinet in the hallway, reaches up, and sets this item on top of the cabinet. And they're like, what the heck is he doing? What is
like
that?
Hidden? Like he's trying to
it's just
tuck it
like
up?
It's just almost like a armoire type, like a tall, like kind of what the kids have in their room, but like decorative top and stuff.
Yeah.
And he just like set something up there. Of course, it's 2009 footage, and so it's like grainy. And I'm watching it. I'm like, what is that? It's like kind of, I couldn't tell what it was. So they're like, okay, he's got an ice bucket. He set something up there, and then he walks away, and then he's seen walking, out of frame. And then he comes back to his room with the ice bucket that's now full of ice. And they're like, okay, still, where's Jasmine? Where is she? So they look more into, they're like, let's look at her phone records and see, to establish a timeline. And her phone records show that she texted a number multiple times the evening that she went out with her husband to this poker tournament thing. And apparently, Jasmine had an ex-boyfriend that she had been with for about 2 years, and his name is Robert Hasman, who lived in Las Vegas. And in the text messages back and forth, it appeared that they were talking about getting back together. It was clear that
it wasn't working.
She was texting him while she was at the poker party, telling him that she was done with everything and she wanted him to get his plane and come pick her up.
Wow.
Yeah, because Robert has money.
Okay.
And she dated him basically like up until she married Ryan. So, so with this information, detectives decided to bring Robert in to question him about what was going on between the two of them. He spoke to detectives and explained that he and Jasmine dated all the way up until she got married to Ryan. And he does admit, like, yes, I stayed in contact. And the last time he talked to her was when she was at the poker tournament, and they were talking about her going to the airport, and then he would get his private jet to come and pick her up. Yes, from Vegas to So he had a solid alibi. He was nowhere near. He wasn't even in California. He's ruled out as a suspect. So detectives now know they need to find that. What is this? Okay,
What is the little thing he put up?
Thing that he put up there? They're getting. Imagine this is all in like back to back to back. They're, I'm sure, phone calls. Hey, we got this information. Da da da. It's just an active. They're really trying to figure out what's going on. So, they go over to the cabinet in that hallway and look and find what was placed on top. It's a phone receiver.
Oh, okay.
The phone receiver.
Oh.
From the hotel room. So phone receiver, just the hand, just the receiver part.
Yeah, so he like unplugged whatever the cord was to the phone. That they
and just took the receiver and put it up there. Odd. Okay, so
I mean, if you don't want anyone waking you up, but that's not unplug it at the wall.
And put it in at the foot of your bed.
Yeah.
So of course it's taken to the lab and looked over for fingerprints or any evidence, and so they decide to look again at the room where Jasmine and Ryan stayed, and so they're like looking at this with new eyes. The layout of the room showed. Remember, they're on the ground floor. They didn't need to go in the elevator. They're on ground floor. So their room had doors that led out to a private patio, and it had like a little short wall, and then this then goes straight to like the parking lot. So it's kind of hard. It's hard to explain because in the pictures it kind of looks like it's sunk down a bit and like it's up and like you got to step up and over to then get up on the grass. I don't know. It's like, I don't know if that makes sense, but
it does. I seen something like that at my friend's
wedding. It's
kind
of in, and then it's like you're looking and there's like the grass at like eye level, but you could like climb up and if you wanted to. So
it's so they didn't have to dig into the beach mountain.
So this, it's easy enough for someone to step over and to go to into the parking lot. So like, okay, let's search this patio really good.
Because that wouldn't be seen. Him walking in and out, he could just hop over and bail.
Yeah. So
in theory, allegedly.
Yeah. So it depends on where all the surveillance cameras are. Right. And like, they do have them all over the hotel, but I'm sure they're not pointing at their private patios. That's an invasion of privacy if you're out there in your bathrobe and wanting some private time,
Or you don't even want anyone to see in your bikini.
Exactly. So they're really searching this patio and they find a spot of blood with long brown hair in it.
Oh no.
And of course the blood and hair is run against Jasmine's DNA and it is a match. It's hers. And it's just a little bit. It's like literally as if
he maybe like pulled her hair.
You had some bit of blood on your hand and like kind of barely touched, like it was just a little, it wasn't like a drop, it was like a smear, a little bit of blood and then a piece of hair on like a white wall. Like
wow, what a perfect setup for them.
So it was the tiniest little bit. I'm sure like it looked big in the picture because it's all blown up, but I'm sure it was the tiniest little bit that like anybody could miss. So this is confusing at first because according to surveillance, Jasmine isn't seen entering the room with Ryan. So looking further at the video evidence that they had, they can see that after Ryan goes back to the room with the ice bucket, he is then seen again at 6:24 a.m. leaving the room with some of their belongings just in his arms.
Because her fucking body is in the suitcase.
Not in a suitcase. So he's just carrying them out. They're not in bags. He's just carrying clothes, toiletries, just like by the armfuls, just like has his hands full of stuff and he's going, exactly. So then he's seen going back empty-handed to the room, and then he comes back at empty-handed at 6:51 a.m. and then he's in the room for a couple hours. He's kind of in and out, and then he's gone for a couple hours, returns at 9:09 a.m. and he's wearing completely different clothes.
Okay.
So he's coming back. So he like leaves, comes back, leaves, comes back. He's wearing different clothes. And then at 9:20 a.m. he leaves the room again and he has nothing in his hands. And this is the last time he's seen on camera at the hotel.
Okay.
So detectives then go back to when Jasmine and Ryan first got to the hotel and they can see the same exact suitcase that Jasmine's body was found inside of loaded on their luggage cart. So that same suitcase made it to their room, but then it never was seen leaving the room after it entered their room. I don't know if it's because the AC turned on, but I have full body chills right now.
It's gross and sad.
So in all of the footage of Ryan exiting the room, he either had handfuls of stuff or nothing at all. The suitcase was never seen leaving. There's no luggage left behind, so it's clear the luggage must have been taken out the back. through the doors and past the patio. So friends tell detective that Ryan and Jasmine's relationship was actually not that great. I mean, not really a surprise after you've been married, after you met for 2 days and then got married. I mean, so they find out that shortly after they got married, Ryan had actually cheated on Jasmine. And he had been arrested in Las Vegas on a domestic violence charge for punching her in the arm and causing her to fall in the pool. So police were called out. So, of course, it's pointing at Ryan. Something happened and he knows what happened. So they just needed to find him. But remember, he was leaving for Canada to deal with his visa. They can't get a hold of him. So while they're waiting, searching for him, trying to find him, they're able to get into Ryan's residence. And they're able to see that, they look through and all of his, belongings are gone. And both Ryan and Jasmine's cars were gone. And the residents did have surveillance cameras, thankfully. It's an apartment, nice upscale apartment place where they have, the gated basement type parking garage, and then you, take the elevator up to your apartment or whatever. So they pull up the footage for August 14th. Remember the day her body was found? Yeah. And they are thinking that, after he is last seen on surveillance at the hotel, he must have come home. And they're hoping just to catch him on camera. So Ryan is seen walking into the apartment. You see, the garage, gate open. And you see him just walk in through, the garage on foot, not in a vehicle. And in his previous statement, he had said that Jasmine had dropped him off at the apartment so that she could then go and get her nails done and run her errands.
That's right. That's what he said.
Yes.
Yeah. And then she just didn't come back.
She just didn't come back. She dropped me off and didn't come back,
Which, I mean, the thing is, she may not have if he had not done that because he probably saw the text or whatever.
Yeah. So Ryan is seen, on surveillance. He takes the elevator upstairs and then he comes back downstairs and he's got a suitcase. All his belongings, basically. Yeah, exactly. And then he's seen getting into his car because remember, they took Jasmine's to the hotel. So,
her Mercedes.
Her Mercedes. And so he's seen getting into his car, which is in the garage, and leaves. So detectives look into Ryan a little closer and see, where would he have gone after leaving the apartment? And they find out he had a storage unit in Las Vegas where he kept a boat.
Okay.
So, they go to the storage unit. Why wouldn't they? And it's gone. The boat's gone. Yeah. Okay. So now it's August 19th, and Ryan's SUV with the boat trailer attached to it was found at a boat ramp in Blaine, Washington. No boat. Just his car and the trailer, thing that the boat sits on. So now they're thinking he must be in Canada. Yeah. He told, you drive up to Washington from California and then it's just a quick little boat ride up to Canada. And he's a Canadian citizen, so they're probably not going to stop him.
Right.
So August 23rd, the hotel manager of the Thunderbird Motel that's in Canada contacted officials and told them that a man had arrived a couple days earlier, checked into the hotel, and he didn't see him again to check out. So he went into the room and Ryan was found hanging by his belt in the closet.
What a fucking loser.
I know. This was not how I wanted it to end at all.
Dang it.
This was new to me. Again, it was new to me and I did not know. I knew, it's with everything, it was the husband did it, but come on. So Canadian officials took pictures of him, took his fingerprints, sent it to detectives in the States. And of course it was confirmed that it was Ryan Jenkins. And apparently at first they didn't see a suicide note, but they did find it on his computer inside the room. Now, here's the thing. In his suicide note, he says that he's I'm sure people think I'm a monster based on what they're hearing on the news, but really Jasmine was the monster because she wouldn't stop sleeping with her former boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. And he does say in his suicide note that she's beautiful and he loved her, but never once said he was sorry for what he did to her.
Yeah, he literally blamed her.
He never apologized for murdering her. He just kind of put the blame on her, well, she's the one, she's the monster. Yeah. So 3 days after finding Ryan's body, on August 26th, detectives got a call about Jasmine's car. It was found about a mile from their apartment. And they immediately go out and begin processing the car for evidence. And immediately there's just a ton of blood in the car.
Oh, no.
It was on the door panels, the carpeting, the door seals, everywhere, and especially the back seat. So the suitcase that held her body was sitting on the back seat of the car and not in the trunk like one would assume.
Yeah.
So because of this, all the blood had pooled into the back seat of the car. Yes. Now remember, he cut all her fingers off. He beat her. He took out all her teeth. And yes, that's a lot of exit wounds for blood to just be pooling out, even post-mortem. Mm-hmm. So detectives can form a theory of what happened. So this is their theory. They determined that the night Jasmine was murdered, Ryan had found out that she was texting Robert. And this is when, while in the car, Ryan began beating Jasmine. And this is the crime scene, takes place in the car based on the blood evidence. It tracks. It's totally the place where this all happened. Then they get to the hotel, and instead of bringing her in through the front where people can see, he takes her to the patio of their room because remember, her blood and her hair was there. So he instead brings her to the back, to the patio, and then he finds out he can't get into the room from the patio. So that is when he is seen quickly running into the hotel. Remember I said he was like quick trying to get in. Gets to the hotel room, brings her in, and this is their theory, because then it's like, okay, he ran in, and then, he must have brought her in, and then the next thing that happens, he's seen exiting the hotel room and putting something up on the cabinet and getting ice. So detectives at this point think she was probably still alive in the room. Reason being, he was hiding the receiver that she couldn't call for help.
Exactly. That's exactly what I thought. The moment you're like, the phone receiver, I was like, because if you just took it off the hook, she could grab it and call for help. Because he probably took her fucking phone because he was looking through it. I mean, I'm sure
he probably had her tied up or something.
I'm sure
in some
she wasn't just like, I'm cheating on you and I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
Like I mean, she was cheating, but like when people have it, they're going to peek. They're going to look. No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying like he probably had a feeling, went and looked.
Went and looked. And So at this point, she's obviously in the room alive, probably all beaten up, which is why he brought her through. So I'm tracking what the detectives are putting together. And then why would he go and get ice? Maybe to try to, I'm sorry, please don't tell the cops, like, I won't do it again kind of thing. And maybe she was just like, fuck you, I'm telling the cops, like, get away from you, psycho, or whatever. Or he maybe just
took the ice to make it look like that's why he was running about all nuts, because he was like, I'm doing something.
So they're like, but the thing with the phone and then ice, it's like she was probably still alive. Totally. She had to have been alive in that room. And so I kind of have the same feeling of like maybe she was just like, no, I'm leaving you. I'm, whatever. And that's when he strangles her. And then loads her body into the suitcase and takes it through the back to her Mercedes. And then that's when he is seen starting to take all their belongings out of the room by hand. And the time that he was gone from the hotel room was him most likely, like that break of he wasn't seen for a while, he was most likely out trying to find something to dismember her with, like take her teeth and her fingertips and all of that.
That's what I thought he was putting on top, was like the pliers.
No, it was just the phone receiver. So that's when, he comes back, takes off her fingertips and her teeth, all of this in the back of the car, and then leaves. And as he is driving, he's like been driving for a while, so he just pulls off in Buena Park and finds a random dumpster to dispose of the suitcase. He then dumps her body, drives back to LA. All of the surveillance in this case tracks. It was able to help put together the timeline. And he took the easy way out. He didn't want to face, I mean, clearly, because he couldn't even admit to, I was so wrong, I killed her and I shouldn't have, kind of thing. So so
I hate when they kill themselves.
I do too. But at the same time, it was the small silver lining of her family didn't have to get drug through court, and
and taxpayers didn't have to pay for his sorry ass to be
extraditing him to the U.S. to then be charged and go through, and then just another person's.
I know. I'm like, how does that work after that? Like, do we imprison him or does Canada imprison him?
We do. The crime occurred in the States.
That's so crazy.
So it was like my other one where the guy fled to Mexico and they needed to extradite him back here so that he could be, remember the whole, the conspiracy to commit murder, the guy who actually killed her. So yeah, if he fled to Canada, just like if he fled to Mexico, they extradite him back to, in this case, it would be California because the crime was committed in California and he would be charged with California, law. Yeah. So it was just he didn't want to do all that, so let me run back
blame
home
it on her
and yeah, she was the monster. I can't believe it. And he was and I'm like, I looked at the picture of him and I was like, he doesn't even look that familiar because like it was 2009, 2008, 2009.
Oh yeah, we would have been like 17, 18, like
20s.
Were we?
Yeah. 21 in 2009.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I went back a little too far.
Yeah. So we just
aged
ourselves right there, but let y'all know how old we are. But yeah, I watched a lot of, because I was home with a baby. Troy was born in 2007, so he was, a couple years old, but
he wasn't, Amy.
2007?
No, never mind.
What are you talking about?
You don't know when you were pregnant with Troy, remember?
Oh, that's right. I have no idea. No, back to family drama. It took me a second because I was like, wait, yeah, I think I know when my kid was born.
No, you don't.
Yeah, so I was looking and I'm like, I don't really recognize him. Okay, here, I'll just show you. It was a TMZ picture. So here's her and here's him. Yeah, it's totally 2009, but so see, she's always blonde. She's really pretty. Really pretty. Do you recognize him?
And her.
And her?
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of vaguely.
That is nuts.
Here's another picture of the two of them.
Yeah, I totally know. I mean, obviously not in person.
I mean, they weren't married very long,
yeah,
but
I
I just
their faces by the face,
mm-hmm.
and I'm sure I remember like this from the case.
I'm like I obviously will post pictures and
yeah,
like I said, majority of them she's blonde.
Yeah.
But his face, I'm like, oh, it does kind of look familiar.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm like, not really. Like, I don't know. Like, here's a better one. She's really pretty.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We'll post pictures, but I'm like, I would have to look at his like. Yeah, but it's crazy because I would just think like, what if? Well, no, because he did the missing persons. And so I was like, what if the breast implants, weren't there? What if he thought to cut those out and they couldn't identify her? But then again, I'm like, well, he did file a missing persons report and eventually her family would have. Mm-hmm. And so it would be like plausible. And I'm sure she had like a mole or a birthmark. So eventually her body would, but I'm just so glad it was so fast.
But it definitely slowed it down.
Yeah. So,
I know that's the same thing too.
But it was still
really
so fast.
Crazy.
They could have done it immediately with fingerprints.
Mm-hmm.
But it just took a few more hours the next morning to get the coroner to like, oh, hey, here's the implant serial number.
Yeah.
So anyways, well, yeah, that
Goodness gracious.
That was it.
So sad. And it's weird because I'm like, I see her face and I can hear her talking. Like,
really?
I know. Because I swear that she was on one of those, she got on one of those, like, Rock of Loves or some shit. It seems so familiar, but I absolutely know her face. But I'm like, do I remember from the case? Possibly. But it really, like, as soon as you showed me, I was like, I know their faces. Like, I know them from TV. So...
Yeah, I would have to, like I said, I was just more focused in the facts of the crime, and it's like, here's her basic background and his basic background, but otherwise, I was like, that was 11 pages I typed up, and I tried to skim through some of it that was like, I got really like detailed in some stuff where I'm like, okay, I'm not writing a report. Well, I am, but not like, not like college report.
Apparently, he was technically the winner of season 3 of I Love Money, which I think is one of those like Rock of Love. I think it's a girl. Mm-hmm. But because of what he did, they didn't show the show.
Yes.
That's nuts.
Yes. And I
bet you I know his face from Megan Wants a Millionaire because
they canceled that season that he was on. They won't show it out of respect for her family.
And now I'm wondering if like how, because the girl Megan Wants a Millionaire, she was a loser from Rock of Love. She was trying to shack up with that guy from Poison. But so then she got to go on to that, and But I'm like, maybe could we have seen it? Like, did they still air the like advertisement commercials to go on beforehand? I wonder.
I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, we could have seen it in real time in 2008 or whatever it came out. And I was just trying to look at her, because she just mostly did model. She was a swimsuit model, body paint model. She was in like shows at Las Vegas casinos. She was in commercials for adult phone lines. Maybe that's where you heard her. I don't know. Late night VH1.
Like those like call us now. Was it like that? Maybe. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Those like old phone. I never
because
used to
that's
sleep
really
back
it. She didn't do anything else other than modeling. And so it was,
that's crazy.
yeah, VH1 after that happened pulled a lot of stuff that he had worked on, and just out of respect for her family of like, we're not showing his face on our platform. So they had some respect, which is admirable, you know, because it's all, you know, they could be making a ton of money on that, especially after the fact, the amount of people that would want to watch it. And it's like, no, we're not showing his face. Like,
right. They're like, let's watch the fucking murderer interact.
Exactly. And it's like,
and
nope.
like,
VH1 is like, nope, we're pulling his face off our platform.
That's awesome.
So,
that's cool for them. I mean, the amount of money they lost on that, like not doing that, like.
But then probably the amount of money that they did make for people who are like, I can respect that. Like, okay,
sure.
let's go watch the next trash.
Because the reality is, they could have gotten amazing ratings because people love that. I mean, look at us. We're like talking about it, but you know, we're not glorifying it. And
absolutely,
there would be a lot of people that's like, let's go watch this murderer. Like,
no, I just wanted to know what he was on, because I'm like,
not
like I wanted
totally
to see anything, and I'm like, could I have seen him on something?
But now my brain is like, why? Okay. It's weird.
Well, you're not going to find any VH1 clips unless it's like some forbidden YouTube video or something.
It's really, really weird.
Yeah, so that was...
Damn.
Gosh.
You did a good job. That was a lot of information.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a lot of surveillance. I was like, the surveillance really plays into it. It was a huge chunk of it, of creating a timeline. And it really did help them, like, oh, now we got to go look over here. Oh, now we got to go look over here, and put it all together. And so, in the end, it ended how it ended. And it would have ended that way anyways, because he was already on his way to... It would have, even if they started the extradition process, he would have killed himself. Yeah. You know, some way. He knew they were looking for him. He knew it was going to get back to him. There's nobody else who would have done it, so.
Yeah, and like the fingertips and that was all just to slow it down. I mean,
and that
we
didn't
all
even
know
work.
That's not
Slowed
how
it down
works.
by no time at all, because it was just less than 24 hours she was identified. So... Yeah. Anyways. Okay. Well, I gotta take a break.
I know. I'm all sweaty and I'm starting to feel nauseous.
I know. Man. Okay. Well, with that, stay crafty
and not crimey.
Bye.